Last year, we made a video on 10 studio essentials that cost under $25, and you all love that video way more than I anticipated. I think that when we're all buying stuff for our studio or for our music journey, gear can be really, really expensive. You know, headphones are hundreds of dollars, keyboards are thousands of dollars, and sometimes I think that there are purchases that we could make for 25 or 50 bucks that really do enhance your workflow, they enhance the vibe of your studio. So I figured I would do another video where we're gonna give you 10 different studio items under $50 that I think that every studio should have. So we're gonna dive in and look at all of those in 1 second. But before we do, my name is Austin. You're watching Make Pop Music. If you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And if you want a chance to win any sample pack, preset pack, MIDI pack, or loop pack from our website, makepopmusic.com, completely for free, all you have to do is leave a comment within the first 72 hours of this video, and we will be announcing a winner on our Instagram the following week. So follow us on Instagram. Let's go ahead and let's dive in because we have 10 different items to talk about. The first item that I want to talk about is cable ties. These are essentially just normally two-sided pieces of fabric where one side is kind of like a Velcro, and then the other side is basically just loop and hook Velcro. And they wrap around cables, they wrap around cords. These are non-negotiable for me. If you have any studio gear whatsoever and you don't have a bunch of these lying around, I think that you are going to run into issues. This one that I'm showing you came from Franklin Audio. It came when they sent me their DI box and their switcher, but you can get a ton of them. For instance, we have 50 of them right here on Amazon for $12.99. That's essentially 50 different cables that you can wrap up, you can band together, you can run cabling through your room. Let me show you what they look like with an actual cable. So I'm normally hanging this bunch of cables from my guitar stand because it is essentially stereo pedals and MIDI cables for my pedal board. And then I just have one little cable tie right here, cable fastener, whatever you want to call it. If I don't have that, these cables are going to be running everywhere. They're going to be falling all over the place. They're going to be creating a mess in the studio. If you care about cable management whatsoever, you need to be able to just grab a cable tie or a fastener. You're going to need them in your studio. Just go ahead and buy them. They're like 12 bucks for a pack of 50. If you don't have a ton of gear, that should last you a while. So number one, cable ties. Number two is actually something that I've talked about before, and it's these little adhesive pouches that you can stick on your laptop if you work off of a laptop and you take something like an extra hard drive around. So for me, I have my MacBook that is my main studio computer, but I also unplug it every day and travel with it and use it at the kitchen table, take it to coffee shops. And I essentially have one hard drive on there that has all of my libraries, Contact, Omnisphere, East, West, because it's terabytes and terabytes of stuff, and I don't want that on my main drive. And rather than just always having it dangle from my laptop, I bought one of these little pouches. I'll have some B-roll overlaid. They're like 15 bucks. I keep the hard drive in here. When I'm not using my iLock, I'll put it in this little top pouch. And essentially, it just keeps everything from being slung around my bag, falling all over the table. If I'm at a coffee shop and I'm like moving around, I don't have to worry about my hard drive, accidentally getting pushed off the table and falling and disconnecting and breaking. I have a couple friends that I've kind of convinced to also grab these that work off of a laptop, and they're a game changer. If you're gonna be mobile, I think these are the best 15 bucks you can spend. You're going to have hundreds of dollars worth of hard drives just dangling from your computer. Grab these if you work off a laptop. If you work off a desktop, obviously you don't need these, but they're so great. It's one of those no-brainer purchases that when I bought it, I was like not really understanding how everybody didn't do it. So yeah, grab one of those, a little hard drive sleeve, huge for workflow. The third thing that I want to talk about is getting some kind of power conditioners. If you're using rack gear, you can obviously get like a rack-mounted Furman or Black Lion, or if you're on a budget, Pile. There's tons of rack mount ones, but I know a lot of people watching this channel don't have rack mount, or like, for instance, I need them over by my synths that are back here that don't have a rack, or I'll want them for the bookshelf back there. And you can actually get these little power conditioners that kind of sit on a floor. So you can get them vertical, or you can get them kind of double wide. It really just depends on how your plugs are oriented. I find these are a little bit easier if you have more wall warts and stuff like that. But essentially 35 bucks, you can plug in everything. If you have, power outages, you don't have to worry about getting a surge and ruining gear. If I were you, I would have anything important in your studio plugged into a power conditioner, not just a power extension cord, something that will specifically condition the power. And if you get hit by lightning or if there's a power surge, it's not going to fry your gear. So all of my keyboards, all of my rack gear, my computer, my monitors, all of my keyboards, my amp, anything like that is going into a power conditioner. And I find these little floor mount ones to be highly underutilized in studios. I'll see commercial studios that still just have like the really cheap kind of power extension cable outlets. And for me, I feel like spend a couple more bucks, make sure that you're protected. Furman always makes really, really, really great gear. So even if you don't have a rack mount, just grab one of these. 35 bucks is so worth protecting hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of gear. So grab yourself a power conditioner. Better safe than sorry. You're not going to miss this one until something happens, and then you're going to think, fuck me, I wish I would have bought this a year ago when I watched that video, because now I have a computer that's fried. 35 bucks is a no-brainer to protect gear. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually a headphone extension cable. And what you do with these is you take a pair of headphones, and we've all probably been in a studio where you have to plug that into an interface or a headphone box or some kind of mixer, and then the microphone's all the way across the room, so you're yanking the braided cable. It's just kind of uncomfortable. You've got this really tightly wound cable that's kind of like lifted in the air. That's no bueno for me. I figure, why not just get these little extension cables? You can extend them 10, 20, 30 feet. I think once you get past 20, you start to run into latency issues just a little bit. But adding an extra 10 foot on your headphone cable can be so much more comfortable if you have a vocalist sitting across the room, or if you need to go stand in another room to, like, you know, what if I want to take my microphone out into the hallway and track a really roomy gang vocal? I can just add this on top of my headphone. You essentially just plug in the 3.5 millimeter here, and then you have your 1/4 inch here that you can plug into your interface or your headphone amp or your mixer, and then you're good to go. I think that these are something that I don't see in many studios, but I'm not understanding why. For 20 bucks, I don't want cords being yanked. I don't want interfaces being yanked out of a rack or off of a desk. Just add the headphone extension if you ever find yourself having headphones that are pulled even slightly tight. For me, I would always rather have extra cable length than not enough, because otherwise you're going to go through $200 headphones super, super quick because you're just constantly loosening up that connection. So grab one of these. I think they're great, highly underutilized in studio settings. Everybody should have them. The next thing that I want to talk about is technically over $50, but however, every time I've ever bought these were like 35 bucks. So I don't know what's going on. I know the economy's in shambles, but it's slightly over 50. However, I'm sure you could find another brand. I'm just showing you these because it's the exact ones that I have. But they're these little LED light bars, and I'll cut to some B-roll to show you how I use them. But I essentially have them on my synth stand, and I've mounted them with Velcro. So I essentially took one side of Velcro and attached it to the back of this little thing, and then one side of Velcro and attached it to the crossbars of my synth stand. For anybody who's wondering, I use the Black Panther Systems stand. And essentially, it just allows me to have a remote-controlled or app-controlled LED light. So I can go ahead and give myself some light if I want to work with a synth. If I want it to be vibey, I can change the colors. If I want it to be brighter, I can up it. Dimmer, I can, bring it down. It's connected to all of my other lights that I talked about in the last, things that you should get under $25. Everything runs off my Smart Life app. I have a friend in town, Ao, who, when I went and saw his space again a couple weeks ago, he was like, dude, the literally best thing I've ever gotten from you and from your channel is putting these lights on the synth stand. And so, hey, if that's the best thing that you can get, I think it's a huge workflow. I hate working with synths when it's super, super dark. 50 bucks is a little bit steep for an LED bar, but even if you want to take this idea and find a cheaper light or do it with an LED strip that's just attached to, a cheap light or whatever, there's a million ways to do this. I like these because they're seamless. They're kind of the perfect width for the crossbars of my specific synth stand, but having some kind of light on any kind of synth or workstation, so great. Again, 50 bucks is a little bit steep for these, but if you can ever find them on sale or find a different brand, look at how good it looks. I have so much more light to work with. So good. The sixth thing that I want to talk about is a headphone holder or a headphone stand. I have a couple different ones in my studios. I have a lot of different headphones kind of lying around. I recently got these when I kind of reset up my studio, and for me, these are amazing. They're just double-sided with like 3M sticky tape. So you can put them on your desk, you can put them on your, sidecar rack, you can put them on a wall. They're renter friendly, and essentially they've held my headphones really, really great. I'll show you, I have 3 of them attached to my sidecar so I can hang up. I think I have like open back headphones primarily on there. And then if you don't want this option, you could always go with something like a little headphone tree. I have this exact one that I will show you right now. It's cool because it's got a little tray in the bottom too, so I can put my headphone extenders in there. I can put any kind of little cables or cable ties. So having a place to kind of just set your headphones where they're not just lying around and, getting smushed and getting their cords kind of tangled up. These are awesome. These are $8. I think this thing is 20 bucks and it holds 2 pair. Get something to hold your headphones on. It's going to be so nice to just get them off the desk. And it's super clean. Like I said, these haven't fallen at all. I've had them up for about 6 months now and haven't had any issues. So I do recommend these. Check those out. Headphones are kind of just an annoying thing to have sitting around. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually having some tambourines and some shakers in the studio. So even if you don't do a lot of live instrumentation, having something like the shaker, I'll show you right here. I think this thing's like 25, 30 bucks. You can get them even cheaper. I have this little yellow one that's basically a toy tambourine. They're slightly different pitches. They're slightly different vibes. I also have a couple shakers, and you can get these for 15, 20, 30 bucks a piece. And I just find that it's so much easier to record live tambourine to a track. I love tambourine loops. We literally have a tambourine pack on our website, and I try to put them in other packs that we do as well. But something about being able to play a live tambourine to the exact tempo with the exact accents, for 15, 20, 30 bucks, I just think it's something that you should have. Even if you don't have a good microphone to record it on, you could record these into an iPhone and then just pop that audio into your DAW and be good to go. You'll never have to use another tambourine loop. These are one of the least expensive instruments that you can have in your studio, and they're one of the easiest ones to actually track because in no mix ever is somebody like, oh, that tambourine is perfectly mixed. They recorded that tambourine on a Telefunken 251. Nobody cares. It's a tambourine. You can take a $15 tambourine, track it through an iPhone, but just having that playability makes it so much better than trying to use a plugin that's tambourine based or find a loop on Splice or find a tambourine pack. I just think that if you have any space in your studio whatsoever, and if you're not going to get a noise complaint, have a couple live tambourines around. You could spend 50 bucks and get 2 tambourines and 2 shakers that all have different flavors. And now you have top loop percussion for basically any genre of track that you could ever want. The 8th thing that I want to talk about are these little double-sided tape pads. You can see them on here. These on Amazon that I'm showing you are 3M brand. The ones that I'm holding are just some off-brand. And I know it doesn't look like much, but these things are actually amazing. And the way that I use them is I take something that might be sitting on my desk that gets moved around a lot, like I have guitar picks over here. I'll show you in some B-roll. And essentially, without the tape, this little thing will move around quite a bit. However, with these little double-sided gels, you can essentially stick something to a desk and not really worry about it moving around. I also have a similar thing happening with my docking station and my main hard drive over there, because before I had these, my hard drive and docking station would just slide around a lot. I would find that cords were getting yanked. Every time that I would plug my laptop in, it'd be moving them. So I just found these things. It's like $5 for a pack of 30, which is insane. And you can use them to literally hold anything that you want on any flat surface. It's actually very similar to the things that are holding the hanging headphone stand that I showed you. But even for the tabletop one, you could use one of these and you could stick it there. If you have, something like the pick holder, you could stick them there. If you have something like a candle that you don't want to get moved, you could stick it there as long as it's not going to get too hot. These things are amazing. I love little kind of like workflow, studio organization things. These little double-sided tapes, double-sided stickies, they're amazing. I think that you should grab a pack because there's always going to be shit getting knocked off your studio desk that needs to be there permanently, but you're never going to fasten it down with something like a screw. These are awesome. Number 9 is going to be this cable management box. I think that these are definitely not necessary, but I love them, especially for putting something like that power outlet that we talked about earlier in, and then you can have all your cords kind of come into here, and it's just a little bit nicer. I can tuck this behind a guitar amp, I can tuck this behind a, sidecar, and I don't have to worry about, essentially this bottom left corner picture right here. That looks terrible. You're going to be tripping over it. You're going to be knocking it around. It's going to be moving. Instead, you just get this one little box. You can even mount them to a wall if you want. I've never done that because I don't care that much. But these are incredible. I think, they're $13. They have vents, so you're not going to overheat anything. For a long time when I had a desktop, I would keep basically my power conditioner in there, but I would also keep all of my external drives in there just so they would never be getting unplugged. They'd never be getting yanked around with my sidecar. These are great. Cable management boxes are so underutilized. We even have them in our living room to hide things like lamp cords or hide the cords that go to our vacuum. Just cords that I have to kind of sit out all the time. These are great to kind of cover those. You can even get them in different colors. You can get them white. You can get them with a wood grain finish. In my studio, I have them black because it matches all of my paneling and furniture. But yeah, for $13, I don't know, just makes it a little bit more organized, makes it a little bit cleaner looking. This is definitely not a must if you don't care about having a space that's, a little bit tidier. But I mean, for $13, I don't want to be looking at cables all day. Maybe that's just a me thing. And then number 10, I think that every studio or every producer, or really everybody in general, should have some kind of physical medium, planner, notebook, whatever they want, where they can, write down their meetings, write down their appointments, write down any kind of goals that you have. You can just write notes in the studio. Like sometimes if I'm sitting with an artist I might hop on a phone call to get some revisions, and I'll just take notes physically, because writing them, I think my brain kind of holds on to them more than if I'm typing them. And I can't get distracted if I'm, just writing a note in this. Like if I'm on a computer and I'm typing a note and then I get a text message and then I see a Facebook notification pop up and then, a plugin's being updated. There's just too much shit happening on a screen all the time. I think having something like a physical planner or a physical notebook is amazing. The ones that I use are a little bit pricey because I do get them personalized. They're from Papier. I think that's how you pronounce it, Papier. $40 for a yearly planner. If that's too much, you could go to your local Target, Walmart. You could go on Amazon. You could probably find planners that are very, very similar for like $10. If you don't really care about the aesthetic, if you don't want them to be embossed or embroidered with your name or a date or anything, you definitely don't have to do this. I have found that these are my favorite planners just in terms of how they're laid out. There's like monthly over here, you've got daily, and I like that they're not actually dated, so you could use this in any year. If you want to, skip 2 weeks because you're going on vacation, you don't lose a bunch of time for days that you're not actually tracking or planning. I think the undated daily planner to me is the best version of a planner that I've ever used. So I guess big shout out for Papier. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I know $40 is kind of steep, but if you are a person that likes physical medium, if you like writing, if you like having a planner, I think it is worth it to kind of invest and get a really, really good quality one. These are built crazy. I've had some of them for 3, 4, 5 years. Never had an issue with the spines breaking or pages tearing out or anything fraying. So those are really, really good. But no matter what your budget is, I think everybody should have some kind of planner. I think everybody should have some kind of notebook or some kind of physical medium to write in the studio, no matter what it is. And then I actually have a bonus. Number 11, the best thing that I've ever bought for my studio, hands down, by far, cost me $50. My little studio cat, Chloe. You just saw her jump down. She's a Siamese. I adopted her like 10 and a half years ago. I love studios. I have studio pets, dogs, cats, turtles, whatever. Adopt, don't shop. She was $50. Her sister was $50. Best thing that I ever bought for the studio or for my house in general. Cannot recommend enough. But that's going to do it for my 10 items. I will try to have some links in our description for the video. I don't think any of them are going to be affiliate links, but I'll have a little asterisk if they are by the time this video comes out. But yeah, I think in a world of studio gear being so expensive, sometimes a little, $5 sticky pad is really all that you need to make your day a little bit easier. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to see a part 3, let me know. There's other things that I actually had to cut off of this list, but that's going to do it for this video. Again, if you want to enter that giveaway to win a free item from our website, Make Pop Music, all you have to do is comment in the first 72 hours, and we will be back next week with more content. Much love. Peace.